dashboard here, but for recording, the goal of this video is going to be to take this Trinity motherboard console all the way through from modding to complete ready to ship it as I would do. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss and walk through real fast is what I'm going to be using to do that. So the tools that I'm going to be using here are my Nandex, right? And then these are both sets of wires that associate with my Nandex. This is the longer end pin thing that you plug into the side of the Nandex here, and you use that to program the Nandex chip. And then this is my modification to just the normal NAND reader-writer pin. So the color coding is the same as the Team Executor reference images, and all I've done is I extended the length, and then I've taken the legs off of some resistors to give myself some more durable points to solder with, because I reuse my tools a bunch of times. And then finally, the chip that I'll be using today is this Ace V3 chip. It comes in a little package with the wiring and stuff. Now, one thing I'll mention here is in the video, I'm going to go ahead and program this chip using my Nandex. But if you buy these chips from me, and unfortunately I'm out of stock on my website right now, but if you buy these chips from me, I do give you the option to program them for you. So I'll cut it open, program the chip for a Trinity, and ship it to you. That would allow you to use like a cheaper programmer. For instance, like a Matrix V1 that it can read and write to the NAND, but it can't program chips. So that would be a good solution, is if you bought the chip pre-programmed from me, then you could use a cheap programmer and you could get your mod done all in for, you know, 15-20 bucks. So to get straight away to it, what I'm going to do is move these to the side for the moment and bring the console in here. And just want to demonstrate that we can visually tell that this thing is a Trinity by the distinctive NAND header points here. So they're upright. And if we switch real fast to our JRunner install here, I can go Images, Nandex Slim, Nandex Trinity install, and it opens this nice big image, which, look at that, it gives us the exact color coding that we need, and this is kind of our proof. Yes, this is a Trinity because our NAND headers look just like this, and here is the wiring. So if you're doing this video along with me, might be a good time to snag a screenshot of this, or just pull it up in your own JRunner, because I'm going to switch back to the action cam here so I can show you how I would walk through this. So first things first, fiberglass scratch pin, about $4 investment on Amazon, definitely worth doing. So if we go ahead and use that scratch pin to just kind of highlight up these spots a little bit. The point of what I'm going to show you, I'm only going to do one first, just to visually try to give you an indication of the difference. Let me grab a cotton pad here, put a little rubbing alcohol on it. So if we clean that up, so you should be able to see pretty clearly here. And I know my camera is not the best, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it to stay still. But you see how much shinier those points are? They've taken that top coating off of them. That's the whole point. It's going to allow the solder to stick much better and adhere. And then I'll do the same thing on this side. So just clean up those points. And then again, just run my little alcohol-soaked cotton pad over it. Next up, I'm going to use my flux here. So this is just cheap flux that I get multiple tubes off at a time on eBay. It says that it's Amtech. To be frank, I think it's probably not. It's probably some sort of cheesy knockoff stuff, whatever. But it seems to work, so whatever. You can get this off eBay for about $3 a tube, Amazon about $10 a tube, anything like that. So from here, I'm just going to go ahead and apply a line up and down each set of pins. So we just kind of coat it in some flux. And more is better than not enough, right? Or too much is better than not enough. Hey guys, James Bourne, NRG Mods, Matthew Huber, Crunchy Turtle, and Ricky Hernandez. Thank you for joining. Cool. Glad to see we got a little bit of an audience. So then next thing that I'm going to do is work in pre-tin these spots. So I'm going to try to adjust the camera to give you guys a little bit better view here and see if I can still work around it. So there's the NAND spots. They're kind of overcast here in the video. Maybe I can kick in some additional light here. Let's make sure this works. Yeah, that light's too far. Let's see if I can bring it in closer at all. I don't know what I got as far as cords go. That might just have to do. Let's see if maybe if I tilt it a little I can get that area out of the shadow. How's that? Oh, no, it's too low. That's not bad. Let's see if we can make it focus a little better. Oh, focus. There we go. That looks decent. Alright, so again, thinking back to the image that we referenced. Let me pull back up the YouTube. Wanted to know if you guys can answer my question of what a KV is. A KV is a key vault. It is the unique thing that makes your console different than other consoles. Specifically, it contains like your serial number and your console's unique identifier to Xbox Live. So when you're running a JTAG or RGH console, a KV is what gets banned. So if you get your console banned, that KV that you had on it at the time is banned. And the cool thing about the JTAG or RGH is if you want to, you can change out that KV. On a retail console, your KV is your KV. It's permanent. You can never change it. But on a RGH or JTAG, you can change that out and therefore unban your console. So that's what a KV is. So I'm going to bring that image back up for reference here. So I'm images, Nandex, Slim, Trinity. I'm going to put that back up here, just give you guys another look at that. So upper left or upper right pin on the one to the left is going to be black. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then on the other side here. So just to give you that reference image, I'm going to go back to the action cam here, and we're going to go ahead and pre-tin those spots. So here we go. All right. Sorry if it's getting shaky cammed. I'm trying to work around the camera. Melt. So what I'm going to do, in addition to the 2 NAND read spots, I also know which spots that I need for my chip installation later. So what I'm actually doing here is E, F, ground, and then my 5 volt power. I just go ahead and pre-tin them and do them all at the same time. So you can see now we have nice little raised solder balls for each of those. That's going to make it much easier when we go ahead to actually apply our NAND reader writer. Do I know any reasonable 4 gig Corona NAND readers? So my preference on 4 gig Corona NAND readers are the Maximus SD tool, but that's what I use if I have to let one go with the console. But what I really like here, I'm going to put it in the frame, is this tool. It is an SD tool made by Element, what does that say? 18592, aka the modshop.co. And this guy made this thing up and shipped it to me as a prototype, which was pretty awesome. And it's totally reusable, and you just solder it down to the pads. But you can't get these anymore. They don't make them or sell them or anything. So a Maximus SD tool would be my recommendation. Back to the video here, back to our purpose. So next up, I'm going to use my NAND reader writer wires from my Nandex, per my my Corona, or excuse me, per my diagram. So again, just to go back to it one more time, we've got the color-coded layout here, tells us which wire goes into which position. So we're just gonna jump back and get that tinned up. I don't know what I just said. Tinned up. So there's our black wire, and then I just move over one. We'll do brown. So here's brown. And then red is going to be the one below the black, so below the first one here. And then orange. Oh, sorry for the shaky cam. Orange. And then the last one on that set of header is yellow. And just to be clear, the yellow here is actually ground, so it's pretty normal to have to hold some additional heat to that point. Ground dissipates out the heat across the ground plane, so you oftentimes have to hold heat to it a little longer to get your solder to melt and stuff. So now jumping headers to the next one. The one on the left here is the blue wire. So we get the blue wire in there. And then last but not least, but we'll get the green wire up here. So there we go. So now we have our full set of pin headers installed. Oh, all right. So let's go ahead and switch. I'm gonna switch off the main cam here because it's gonna get really shaky while I readjust, and I don't want to give you guys motion sickness. So I got JRunner up here because the next thing that I'm gonna do is actually read the NAND. So I've got my USB cable. I'm plugging that into my NANDX. When I do that, you're going to see NANDX pop up in the little logo space there. So, boom, just plugged it in, and now you can see right there where NANDX just showed up. So it's recognizing it. Let's see if we got a decent camera angle on this thing now. There we go. We just need to get it back in focus for you, which I can do. There we go. That sucks, Ricky. Gregory Watson. I don't really get online or play, man, so sorry. Oh, reusable, not reasonable. Your whole question was reusable. So, sorry about that. I'm reading your thing now. The SD tool, the Maximus SD tool that I mentioned, what you can get are these tiny little pin headers for it. They only cost like 10 cents a piece, and you solder them over those pins for the 4 gig, and that's what I use if I need to use a reusable one, or the other tool that I said. So the Maximus SD tool is still pretty decent for a reusable one. So anyway, here's what we got. We got our NAND wires all soldered in. We got our NANDX over here, so we're just going to go ahead and plug that in together. And then we're going to pop back over to JRunner. First thing I like to do is just click this. Oh, that's my giant face. Nobody wants to see that. First thing I like to do is click this little question mark here, and it queries it. So what you should see is a valid flash config like we do here. And then it should say a motherboard type. In this case, it says Trinity or Jasper. It can't quite tell the difference until it gets to here after checking the CV version. So now we're good to go. I've got my number of reads set to 2, and then I can just click Read NAND. And now this is something kind of new, is it pops up, or in one of the later versions, it pops up this input name thing. I don't bother to put anything in there. I just click OK to get rid of it. And here we go, reading the NAND out. And if you want, at this point, what you can do is click this Show Working Folder, and it'll actually bring up the directory where you're saving those files to. So here's your nandump1.bin, and sorry to that person for showing their name on the air, but whatever. It's a long time ago, and I think that guy was kind of a jerk anyway. Oh, I'm super out of focus on the stream video. Is it really out of focus for you guys too? Is it super blurry? Is what you guys seeing super duper blurry? Okay, that's fine. The preview from the YouTube live streaming thing, it just looks awful. It's like crazy blurry. So, but if what you guys are seeing, fine. In the preview of my streaming software, it looks fine. So, anyway, so as we're dumping this, what I like to do at this point is come back over and perform a little bit of prep work with the chip here. So if we take the ACE chip, we can just tear it out of its package here. Let me see if I can get the video to steady a little bit for us here. There we go. So we got the chip, we got the little adhesive pad to mount it with, and then we have the wires that it comes with. And then the thing that bugs me about those is that they pre-tin them for you, but they leave just like a really huge amount of lead on the pre-tinned ends. Like, that's way more wire exposed than what you actually need, that length there. I mean, what you want to do is just shorten that up. So I just take a pair of snips and then take that length from where it is down to like almost not visible. So it should just be teeny tiny like that. And then I just repeat that for each of them. And you don't have to do it to both ends, actually. You really only care about the one end because that's the wire that'll go onto the motherboard. The one that you soldered, the end that you solder to the chip, can be longer and not have any impact because the points on the chip are quite large, the pads for soldering too. Sorry, I'm probably doing a terrible job of capturing this. You're just seeing my dirty hands, but whatever. Let me just clean off these off my workspace here. Alright, so the other thing that we can do while we're waiting for that second NAND read to finish is just attach our adhesive pad. So there's our adhesive pad attached, and we're ready to go ahead and program our chip once the Nandex is done. I like to program them before I install them into the console because it just makes it easier. So for that, you'll use the Nandex wire that comes out of the side of it, and then by default what it comes with is just the little slotted pin header thing here so that you could slide it onto a cool runner. If you buy your Nandex from me, you get one of these little pin header dealies, which is really just a cheating way of being able to push that into the tool and then be able to jam those pins into the ACE in order to program it. So you just heard the sound probably. If we go back to NAND or JRunner, you can see that both NANDs have completed successfully. So NAND dump 1, NAND dump 2, and then we get this all-important message: NANDs are the same. So we've compared the two files and we know that they're the same, meaning we've captured them correctly and we know we're good to proceed. So from here, I'm just gonna let me reposition the camera for a second. I need like multiple camera angles. I'm not gonna build a studio for all this though. That would be a little overkill probably. So if we go back to the console view, all I'm gonna do is just disconnect the NAND X reader now, and then I'm gonna disconnect power from the console so that it's just sitting here idle off to the side. Now with my Nandex, I'm gonna pan this thing back over here. With the Nandex, all I got to do is insert my header or my tool into there. So that's got my little programming header thing here. And from there, we can take the ACE chip. And you notice on the ACE chip, this one towards this end, it actually has kind of a square look to the hole around that. all of the other ones are totally round, but that one's like squared off. And the way that I remember it is the one that's labeled TMS on here. So it might be difficult to read in the video, but if you look at the label across this thing, it says VCC on one end, then ground, TCK, TDO, TDI, and then TMS. TMS is the end that needs to go into the slot on the ace that looks squarish. So when I insert that in here, I just make sure that it touches in there. And you can see that the power light on the chip has come on. Now I'm just holding a small amount of pressure so that the pins are making contact with the slots on the chip. So I'm just using my thumb there and holding just a gentle amount of pressure just so everything makes a connection. And then I'm going to pop back into JRunner. I'm going to click the Advanced drop down and then go to Custom NAND CR Functions. That's going to pop up this window, this Custom NAND CR Functions. We want to program a timing file, so that's XSVF. So there's the XSVF, and then we'll click the little ellipsis here to browse to the file. And then so it's already at that location for me. Oh crap, the thing doesn't want to stay there. So you can see the one that's got all the dots next to it, the TRL06. So it's under the 300 megahertz folder, timing 60.6. You can get copies of these files at teamx360.co.uk in the 15432 section. So I'm going to pick that, let's see if I can make this smaller. There we go. I'm going to pick this file so it loads up in here, and I'm just going to click Run. And what you should see here is this input output, and then you should get done as your confirmation message. I'm going to do it again, but with the video on the chip here, so that you can see what it does at the end is actually turn that light green. So I'm going to hit, I turned it off. Custom NAND CR, bring this up, XSVF, grab the file, I hit Run. There we go, Run. So you can see that's how we program the glitch chip. So now that the chip is programmed, we can get rid of that Custom NAND CR window. Link. Milltown try stealth, it's good, but I don't. Milltown try of stealth, free stealth. Yeah, I'm not really, so I need to follow up on that video. I posted a video the other day asking for some stealth recommendations, and I got like 40. So from there, I need to actually install a few and try to see if I can't help everybody out by reviewing a couple of them. So next what I'm going to be doing here is doing the actual chip installation. So I'm going to try to get the video in position where it can stay and be useful here. There we go. Alright, so a couple of things to point out when we put the chip in here. One of the installation locations that we actually solder to is this super tiny little resistor right up here. This is actually your D point, the top side further underneath the heatsink on this little resistor. So we have to be careful where we place our chip to make sure that that's going to remain accessible, because the length of the wire to that can also affect your boot times and stuff. So from here, what I've done is I went ahead and pulled off the adhesive protector, the white thing off of the back of that. And the way that I position this chip is I take this corner of it and butt it up against this capacitor. The flat edge should kind of touch the end of this SMD piece. And then this edge should come just shy of these holes. So when I kind of put it all into place, it looks like this. So the corner is touching the cap. We're along the line of this SMD, I don't know what is that, a transistor or something. And then right along these holes, we're not overlapping or covering the holes. So when I just press it down, we're nice and seated right there. So that's going to be the permanent location where that chip is going to stay. Alright, so from here, what I'm going to do next is just pre-tin the pads here on the chip so that I've got something to adhere my wires to. So I just place my iron directly on the pad and force some solder onto it. No big deal. So you should end up with some nice shiny balls right on top of your chip there. Let's see. There we go. So from here, what I'm going to do is take and make use of those wires that we pulled out. There are multiple shorter length wires like this one, and then we trimmed off the excess on one side, and on the side that we trimmed the excess off on, that's going to be the side that I'm going to attach to the motherboard. So from there, we'll attach the end with the longer exposed wire to the chip. So I'm going to put the 5 volt in first. So this is the bottom pin here is the 5 volt connector. So I just insert the tip of my iron, it liquefies, I insert my wire, and then I just back off of it. So now my 5 volt wire is connected to my motherboard, and then just to the 5 volt labeled location on the chip. So there we go, simple as that. And then the next one up that I do is just proceeding up the line. So it'll be this one here. This is actually our ground. So for ground, same story. I'm just going to use the one that we cut short. I'm going to melt the wire. I'm going to get the tip in there good. And there's our ground wire soldered. And go to the pad labeled G and D on the chip for ground. Alright, so there we go. Second wire installed. Next one we're going to do is our E and F locations on the chip. So the way I like to think about it is if this orientation is alphabetical, E should be on the left, right, and then F should be on the right. So E, then F, E, then F. I like to start with doing F first because it's easier here to get to that side. So just melt the head a little bit. There's my F chip, or my F wire installed, and then we just go ahead and connect that to the F pad on the ACE. Alright. And then finally, the last short wire that we have, we will use and connect to the E pad. Now with this one, I'll prep the end by giving it a little bit of a curl here on its own, so that as I move and manipulate it around, it'll follow that for me. And then I just do same sort of procedure. I heat up the solder ball, stick the wire in, and get my E location in as well. So there we go. Alright, so now starting to come up on the last couple of wires. What we'll use is the longer wire to do the C line. And the reason we're doing that is because we're actually going to trim this to length here when we flip the motherboard over. So the longer wire that we did not trim short, we can just go ahead and attach that to the C point on the chip. So C is anchored to the chip, but the wire is just kind of out there loose. And then I'm going to go ahead and just adjust my camera for a second because I'm going to need to remove the motherboard from the housing now. So I rotated it around, I lift up, there goes the housing. And then from here, what we need to do is take this C wire, route it through this large hole to the underside. So then I just reach under and kind of pull it taut so that it's nice and tight to that hole. And then as I flip it over here, would they let me do a cell setup on it for free? Okay guys, this isn't a stealth chat room or whatever. Let's keep it normal and on topic here. I don't know, I mean, I guess it matters, whatever, do what you want, but why don't you just message each other somewhere else instead of just trashing up the chat with it. If anyone wants to buy a cheap RGH, cut out paint jobs, anything, that's really not cool, dude. You really want to advertise in my channel when I'm selling consoles as well? I think you're gonna go in timeout, man. I mean, I get talking about stealth service and stuff. I don't do that. I don't compete with that. So if you want to help somebody out with some stealth or whatever, but straight up commenting that you're selling consoles in my live stream, when literally, I mean, that's what I am. I'm a console seller. That's kind of not cool. So don't do that. All right. So what I did there while I was getting onto that other fella, without kind of explaining, is the C point location. So let me get in here close so anybody who doesn't know this can catch up and learn. Let me make the video focus again. Oh, focus. There we go. All right. So this C point location actually goes to, let me see if I can get in there and hold the point, is this one right here. So the way I think about it is, if you start here, it's over 1, up 1, over 1. So the end location that you end up is right there with that one. So what I did was I took this wire and I just tried to pull it as taut close to that location as I could, and then I just trimmed it right there. So now what I'm going to have to do is strip it back, pre-tin the end, and get it ready for actually soldering on there and connecting. So here you go. That's the iron that I'm using. It's a Hakko. I think it's called an 88D, 88 something, 988. It should be pretty easy to find with that Hakko 88 something whatever. It looks like a Play School toy, but it's a digital control. I got it set at 470 Celsius. I run pretty hot intentionally, and that's because I try to do my work fast while I'm hot. The weekend monitor. Do I have a VPS? I have a PS. A virtual private server is just a virtual private server. I have an actual server in my closet that I run for my own home usage and whatever else. So no, I don't have a VPS. I have my own server. So what I'm going to do is just trim back the end of that wire just to expose a little bit of copper. Then I'm going to take some solder and just tin the end. And the way you do that is just kind of melt some solder right there over the wire. It's not some dramatic change. It's just a kind of a wicking effect that occurs there to wick some of the solder into it. And then just to try to encourage good behavior on the part of newbies and stuff who might watch this, I'm going to do a little bit of scratch pin activity there. I'll do my little bit of cleanup. And then I'm going to use just a tiny bit of flux right there. And then now I'm ready to go ahead and solder this connection. So I'm going to try to pre-tin the spot a little bit. Get a little bit there. Grab my tweezers. And then the way that I do it is I kind of rotate it. There we go. Make a nice clean connection like that. And then finally, just so that if anybody yanks on the thing at some point in the future, and holy crap, I just spilled soda into my drawer over here. Hold on, guys, you're gonna have to give me a second. I gotta grab some paper towels. All right, let's get these paper towels in there. I'll clean the rest of that up later. Sorry about that. I guess it's live. Do I have a full-time job? Yes, I absolutely have a full-time job. This is only like a part-time thing that I do. So yeah, I work a regular 40-hour-a-week job. I got 3 kids, a wife, 2 cars, 2 dogs, a house, the whole normal thing. So would make you, we can monitor still. Yeah, You know, I've had people approach me about offering that ability to do a stealth service program, but the thing is, I don't want to do that and put my name on something unless I know I can make it good and right and updated and all that. And from what I gather, there's only a couple of people out there that are really actually cranking out this software, and then it's just being kind of resold over and over and over to the different other people. And I don't know. The only way I would get involved with doing a stealth service, I think, is if I spent a bunch of time and learned how to do it myself. And that's, yeah, not something I really have the time for right now. So what I do is just put a little anchor of some glue down so that if anybody ever pulls on that wire, from the top side especially, it doesn't rip off your point and end up ruining your console. So let me get another close-up in here for you. See if I can make it refocus again. There you go. So there's what I end up with at the end of the day. Nice little solder ball, a little bit of glue holding it down. Good little connection. All right. So back to the top side point, we have our very last connection to make. And this one is the one very most commonly screwed up and can most easily end up ruining your console here. So be careful. I don't mean to scare you, but be careful with this, because that D point is it's tiny, so it can be melted off and stuff. So let me see if I can get you a really up close view, and then maybe I can do it that way, because that would be a positive thing. Alright, I know this is shaky cam. Maybe I'll go back through this footage and reuse it and clean it up and actually make a better short tutorial video, chop it up into some sections. Alright, so this is probably about the best view that I'm going to be able to give you for now. The point that we're going to, I'm going to point at it with the solder here, is the top side of this little resistor right here. So right where that solder is touching is where we're going to head. If you look at it top down, it's just a tiny little resistor, and so that location there is where we want to then connect it down here to the D point. So what we have left over is the last little bit of wire that was what we trimmed off of the long wire that we used on the C. So we actually end up with an entire extra wire in the package of these that comes with it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it at the location of that little point here with the tip of my tweezers, and then I'm going to kind of pull it down towards the D point to get an idea of the length. So the idea here is that I'm pre-trimming the length of this wire so that it's not doesn't have a bunch of slack and stuff. The length of this wire ends up being fairly important to boot times of the console. So what I just did is I trimmed it down to this is the total length of what I have left now. So that little length of wire is what I'm going to use to connect from the top of that resistor there. So I need to back up the camera here, unfortunately, to be able to actually get in there and do this. So I'm going to give you a kind of a high-level overview while I do that. Let me get the, yet again, the focus to come back. There we go. So from here, what I do is just take my length of wire. We've got the tinned end that's visible here. Actually, neither of them really look visible, so I'm going to strip the ends of them and just use my little stripper tool and pull off some insulation on the end of one of them, and then I'm going to try to do a very tiny amount on the end of the other. And then I need to pre-tin the wire, so I'll grab a little bit of solder here, and so again, it's not a huge change, it's just a little bit of a wicking effect that happens when you hit the end with a little bit of solder in order to prep it. So there we go, we've got both of those wires tinned now. And then the way I like to do this is to have the console at this rotation when I connect the D wire at the pad. And so this is my really strong advice here is take the wire, connect it, pre-measure it, pre-cut it, connect it to the D pad on the chip first before you attempt to solder it into the little tiny resistor up there. And the reason for that is you don't want to be trying to tug on the wire once it's soldered to the resistor, because that resistor is, you know, reasonably fragile given how small it is, and you don't want to accidentally rip it off the board. I've actually only done that once, and I was able to repair the console, but I'm not trying to be rude, but I think it would be outside of most people's. Wait, hold on. Hey guys, let's keep the things friendly. He got told for not trying to advertise. It's done. It's over. Let's move on. Nobody needs to be cussing at anybody or any of that. So I've heard about Microsoft starting to brick consoles. No, haven't heard anything about that. Did you have to replace the resistor? Yeah, I want to say it's a 33 ohm, or maybe it's 100 ohm. I ended up having to use some Kynar wire and do a small little trace repair in order to make it all work. So what I'm going to do now is going to probably be pretty difficult to see past my hands, but again, the top of that resistor is where we're going, so I'm just going to kind of pre-hit it with some solder there, and then I'm going to use my my tweezers to hold the tip down and tack it in place. So there we go. Let's see if I can get you a nice close-up of that now that it's actually in there. Let's see, IP. There you go. So this particular one's not the prettiest in the world, but it's not bad. You can see how that wire is just barely connected to the top of that resistor. Looking at it up close like this, I might even try to hit it one more time with a little pass of some fresh solder just to see if I can make it be a little more robust than that. So it lifted. So I need to try to get the angle of this wire down. There we go. There we go. There's a nice solid connection. Let's get another close-up. We'll do the focus again. There it is. So right to the top of that resistor. And you can imagine how fragile that is. That's why I tend to have the desire to encase that in hot glue just to make sure that it all stays together. But what I try to do instead is actually just put a little bit of glue kind of over the corner of the wire just to relieve in case it ever gets tugged on, but there would be some glue to give this a little bit of extra strength so it doesn't get ripped out. So now, in fact, our chip is installed. We're ready to go ahead and place this back in its casing. So we can go ahead and slide it right back in, push it down, and then what it's time to do now is actually hook our Nandex back up, write our ECC file, and then attempt to boot and get Cell. So first things first, I'm going to grab the Nandex over here. Don't need the pin header for programming consoles plugged in. Oh, let me pull the chat back up so I can talk to you guys. Okay, cool question. The rumor's real about modding on Xbox One. Is there a way to mod on it? No, I don't know of anything that you can do on the Xbox One just yet. So as soon as there's any chance for that to happen, you can bet that I will post it all over my channel. Nandex into the NAND reader that we had installed before, right? and then power cable to the console, but not on, obviously. We don't want it powered up, we just need it to have standby power. And you can see when I plugged in that standby power that the chip power lit up here. So now what I'm going to do is go back to JRunner here. I'm going to make sure my CR4 checkbox is checked because we are using the CR4 Speedup methodology. We're going to make sure glitch 2 is selected here. And I'm going to do create ECC. We get this nice short little ECC created message. And I'm going to do write ECC. The writing ECC process goes much faster than reading or writing the NAND because it's only in the first 50 blocks. Zell is evidently really small. So there we go. We've successfully written the ECC file. So now we're good to come back over to the console, unplug our NANDX. I always like to, anytime I write to the console's NAND, I like to power cycle. So I unplug power, and then I just plug power back in. And then I'm going to go ahead and hook in my HDMI. And then I've got an Ethernet cable hooked up over here. But I go ahead and plug that in too. And that's just so that I can be lazy when Zell comes up and not have to pull it out, myself. So what I'm going to try to do real fast here is point this over here at the video, and I'm going to grab my handy dandy Microsoft knockoff Chinese $2 IR remote. Makes it easier than having to sync a controller every time. So why don't you just write the ECC before you have the glitch chip installed? Oh, I totally do sometimes. I'm just trying to be follow a method that makes sense for a lot of other people. Personally, I wire everything before I even try to do anything. I haven't even read or written the NAND anything. I have the whole thing wired up and installed before I even move on. So console is ready to go. It's all set up over here. And I'm just going to hit power with my remote here. So I hit power, it starts to come on. We get some blinking, which is a positive sign. That looked like a pattern for a successful boot. And then up here, we're going to get Zell. So here's Zell booting up. No problem. So as Zell comes up, it's grabbed an IP address, and then you can see here that I've got network config and then an IP address listed. So let me stop making everybody motion sick with my camera here and switch back to JRunner. So I go where I have the IP address here, and then you can see my CPU key is empty. So I'm going to type in the last 3 digits of the IP address, 198, and then I'm going to hit get CPU key. I've pulled my CPU key in to JRunner, and so now I can actually go ahead and create my XE build image. I get this pop-up pretty much every time, smc.bin found, delete it, and it gives you really good advice within that window. Unless you put it there, delete it. So the question is, delete it? Yes. Yes, delete it. Yeah, I bought the remote off of eBay. I think it was like $3. It was super cheap. You can find them at GameStops and that sort of thing too. So now we have built our updflash.bin. So what we can do is switch back to the console, which I left on here running. I'll grab my remote and power it off. So you'll see the fan stop here in just a second. And then for the last time, what I'll do is I'll disconnect power because, I don't know, it just makes me feel better. Reconnect power. I'm going to disconnect my network cable because I'm not going to need that at all anymore. I've already got my CPU key. And then I'm going to plug my NANDX back into my header. And the final step is writing that updflash bin back to the console. So I'll come back to JRunner now that that's all hooked up. I'll click Write NAND, and it's writing the updflash.bin. And you can see the progress on that here. And it's going to take a little while longer to do that than it did to write the ECC file, because ECC is only 50 blocks. The full-blown NAND is 16 megabytes. It's 3 FF blocks in hexadecimal. So yeah, this is pretty much it. The console will boot directly into normal looking dash after this point, and so the next steps just become installing freestyle dash, dash launch, XEX menu, that sort of thing. So when this finishes writing here in a second, I'll do a test boot, then I'll remove the pin header wires, then I'll do some cleanup. And for your guys' benefit, I'll put the hard drive tray and the hard drive back in, and I'll show you how I do my initial load of software as well, just to kind of wrap it up. So we'll give this just another few moments. Any other questions? I guess we'll take questions. We got 10 people watching live right now. We got a minute or two while we're waiting on this NAND to write. That's like a lot of stuff to know, like do this, do you forget sometimes? No. So what I try to do is think about it in terms of goals. Really with a goal with your JTAG or RGH console, there are main goals of what you are trying to accomplish at each stage, and then getting the specific steps. So goal number 1, read the NAND. Goal number 2, program the chip. Goal number 3, get CPU key. Goal number 4, write a valid hacked NAND image back to the console. Goal number 5, get it to boot. You know, so like if you think high level and you understand the processes, then you just work your way down. It's not, you know, beyond that. Why the reason that I'm trying to do these videos is because ultimately what I'd like to do is to get into trying to help sell supplies and make sure that those are reasonably available and that they're tested and that there's something that people can use and that there's videos like these that will show them exactly what to do. So for instance, if you have a Trinity console and later this week when I get some more stock in, you want to go pick up a NANDX from me, pick up an HV3, you could follow along with this video, and we're at 51 minutes and you could have an RGH console. I've done it live in real time this way. So you guys can see that the NAND write has finished here. So to switch back to the console here, we'll just unplug the NANDX again. We will power cycle one more time, just disconnect and reconnect power. And this time, when I boot it here, what I'm looking for to make sure happens is that when it boots, which it's doing right now, that I get kind of a normal Xbox looking thing here, which is totally what we would expect, and super happy that that's working. So that's kind of the whole point, right? So now we know we have an RGH. This thing can run unsigned code right now. What I'm going to do is power it off and then do a quick removal of these NAND wires and reinstall the hard drive, and then show you guys what I would load it up with software-wise just for the first thing. So just for this, I'm just going to knock these out real fast. So basically I'm just reheating that solder ball and pulling the wire out of it, and then just doing a little bit of cleanup. Just keep those from being, having too much material. And I'll clean up that flux and stuff here in just a second. I'll wipe it up with an alcohol pad. So now, actually let me rotate this back. Let me grab hard drive and the hard drive tray. So the hard drive tray thing goes right back in here. Plug in the power wire. Get the little rubber grommet in the right spot. Get this back down in there. We'll pass these wires for the DVD drive back forward from where I had them tucked previously, and connect the SATA for the hard drive. And then slide our hard drive in. So now, what I can do with the hard drive in it, so it's got some actual storage, is go ahead and boot it up another time. So you can see the blinking light. You know what? I probably should. I'm gonna kill the power to this real fast, and I'm gonna install the ring of light board so that you guys can see that. Plus it has the button for controller syncing on it, which I'm going to need. So here we go. We'll turn it on again. So there's our nice quick glitch, and console's booting up here. So I'm just going to hit the sync button and then the sync button on the controller. So now we're synced. And then from here, it's pretty straightforward. I have a USB with the 17502 update on it. This is the avatar update. There are many a good pages. If you literally Google the phrase, how to install avatar to JTAG RGH. Do you guys know how to have the Xbox guide into Freestyle? Yeah, we'll be set it up that. You know you want to send me a chip for free. No, I don't. Do you have a website where you can buy an RGH from? store.weekendmodder.com. Do you use Cool Runner products? Sometimes, yeah, absolutely. I use Cool Runner Rev Cs on my RGH 1.2s on FATs. So we go ahead and insert this USB into the console. The way that I've got it configured is if it pops up with the do you want to update within a couple of seconds, that tells me the avatar update was not installed and it needs it. In this particular case, it didn't pop up, so I know that the avatar update was already installed on this console and I don't need to reinstall it. So then at that point, I remove this USB and I have a secondary USB set up with Freestyle dash launch and XEX menu on it. So I'll insert that into the console, and then from here, I'm just going to tab over to the Games tab, and then right bumper all the way over to XEX menu, which is there because it's on the USB. And what I can do is launch that. Right bumper to go to the USB 0, Y to bring up the menu, hit copy, then right on the D-pad to go to the hard drive, Y to bring up the menu, then hit paste. So we just pasted dash launch on there. Left on the D-pad to go back to the USB, go down to the Freestyle folder, hit Y, copy, then right on the D-pad, then Y and paste. So basically what I just did is I copied and pasted both the dash launch folder and the Freestyle folder onto the hard drive. From there, I can actually launch dash launch, go to the default.xex. It's going to ask me if I want to update. I'll say yes. Then I'm going to set my default path to hard drive, Freestyle, default.xex. Then I'm going to right bumper over to my list of storage devices, go down to hard drive and press X. I get that nice setting save to launch.ini, and then I press B, and it will actually do its default action, which is launch Freestyle dashboard. And then the final last thing here that I would do is exit to the stock dashboard. So I do that by going to the system video player, hit yes, and then at the video player select source thing, I hit B, and then I just go over to the storage menu and copy XEX menu onto the hard drive as well. So it's right now it's on just the USB. We copy it onto the hard drive so that you get your own copy of XEX menu. And that is it. I now have a RGH Xbox 360 Slim Trinity with XEX menu, Freestyle dash, and dash launch. This is minus the cleanup, right? So I'll clean up the points, a little bit of glue, a line here, and then a little bit on this corner to secure everything, and then I'll change out the LEDs, and this console will be ready to sell. We'll test the boots a few more times as well. Typically I boot them about 10 or 15 times back to back just to make sure the boot times are always real good. There you go. In under an hour, 59 minutes and 4 seconds, we have RGH and Xbox 360 Trinity. Oh, you wanted to see the Xbox guide thing. So the settings that I just did, look, the settings that I just did, I set Freestyle as my default. And I went Freestyle, look at that. I get Freestyle home, file browser, open tray, get all those things. You get the temperature stuff, whatever. So the only special thing that I've done is setting the the freestyle-default.xex. That's it. Can I do a stream where I customize? Customize what? What are you talking about? Do you use Cool Runner products? Indeed, a Cool Runner. Indeed, I need a Cool Runner Rev C. Yeah, so I would like to start selling them on the website. My supplier charges me more for the Cool Runner Rev Cs than actually what I pay for the Ace V3s. So I don't stock as many of them because I don't get as many fats in. So I haven't really had the extra stock to be able to sell the Rev Cs. Customize the Xbox. What do you mean? You're not being clear. Customize, you like a case window, a cutout? I don't do those things. I personally, again, as I mentioned before, I sell the consoles pre-configured the way that I do and kind of standard the way that I do because this is only a secondary job. I have done, if you look at some of my really old videos, some custom like Superman themed consoles and some Halo themed consoles, and done windows and plexiglass and all that sort of stuff. But to be honest, at the end of the day, the problem really comes down to for the amount of hours that I would end up putting into that, it's just not worth it for what somebody wants to pay. Somebody's really only willing to pay 30, 40 extra bucks for a window with a case cut out and all that sort of stuff. Well, if that took me 5 or 6 hours to do, man, it just it's hardly worth it. Would you pay $100 extra above and beyond the cost of a RGH for a custom case and stuff? And especially given the Xbox Ones are out and the PS4s are out, and a lot of people are jumping ship and going to next gen, I just don't see myself having enough of a market to really justify a custom console, especially not trying to do it as a business. So I just lined up my wires nice and neat there, and just hit it with a little bit of glue to give it some strength in case anybody decides to yank on it. And then I need to clean off the tip of this thing a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so why is it not working? Abdullah, you gotta know why it's not working if you want to know whether or not it can be fixed. Did you get it already broken, or did you break it, or did it die randomly one day, or did you try to RGH it and fail? You gotta know. When are you gonna upload the video for the stealth server? So I haven't actually done the testing. Basically that video that I asked for the recommendations, I compiled into a list. So I have a list. Obviously Ninja was the most suggested one. I mostly want to get 2 or 3 out with kind of a how to configure it, just so that I can point people at those videos, because I get asked by pretty much everybody that buys a console from me or does a send-in, how do I make stealth work? And I have to tell them at this point, I don't really know. I mean, I know that it involves setting a plug-in and doing some configuration, but, hot glue. Yes, I use hot glue. Fuck off. I don't really mean fuck off, but some people have given me a hassle lately about my use of hot glue, and I think it's totally appropriate and just fine. And if you don't like it, then don't buy one of my consoles or don't use my send-in service. But I think it's a positive thing. It reinforces your wire, so if somebody yanks on them, it doesn't rip it out. Did you burn a point? No. Do you use electronic tape instead of glue? No, I don't. Hot glue. Nathan, I don't mean, I said, come on. It was more expressive than it was literal. All right, so this is all set. I can go ahead and put the DVD drive. Oh, actually, no, I need to put the fan housing and the DVD tray prop up in the front, back. put this back in there. And there we go. Console is ready to be recased and have the LEDs done. I like it, looks nice. Clean install. Clean installs though, bud. You don't think that looks clean? What is wrong? How did you fail? What oh, this was the guy before. Hold on. He wasn't asking if I burned a point. Man, I gotta read all of the chat messages. Sorry guys. Yes, RGH fail and something. Wasn't saying that to you. Yeah, now I read it. Sorry. Hot glue lasts longer. Yes. Nathan has been through a lot lately with the whole hot glue situation. Nathan's been through a lot? What? What? Hot fuel. I don't know. I think this looks really clean. I mean, it's nice and tidy. It's got some backing. I used to, at one point, I would glue all up on over the points, thinking I was securing them that way. And some people had an issue with that. And that makes sense. Like, you want it to not be over your points in case you need to work on them for some reason in the future. That's fine. That's why I started using this method where I glue away from the point, but still secure it down. And then I posted a video that had confession in the title a couple of days ago on the main channel. And that showed me using some regular rubbing alcohol to remove this. This would come up as one big piece, no problem if it had to be removed. So I don't think it's an issue. Yeah, can you hack a PS3 Super Slim? Really don't have any idea. I don't touch PS3s at all. So I think whoever told you wrong topic was pretty accurate. I really just don't even know. So, I think, do you guys want to see me do the LEDs on this? Does anybody care? Do you want to see the LED swap out, or should I just call it? I'll give you guys a second to answer before I move on. You're really cool, man. I'm sorry I've made you mad. I've looked at all your vids and I really like your work. You should do a fan giveaway one day. I gave away a console one time. I'm not mad at anybody, so don't worry about that. Nathan Moore. Yes. I don't know. I must have done something to make him happy. When I set the plugins and reboot my console during the Xbox loading, it turns off and I have to turn it on again and again. So check out, Alexis, check out weekendmodder.com/training. All together, one word, or like a website address. weekendmodder.com/training. And there's a PDF document there I just updated the other day. On the second page of that PDF document, there is a procedure for creating a blank launch.ini video, and then there's a video on my channel that I posted pretty recently that was how to escape the boot loop sort of thing. Here, maybe I can find you a link of it real fast. While I'm doing this, can you guys let me know, do you want to watch the LED thing, or you want me to just call it? Let's see. How to escape. Here you go. This is what you want. I'll paste this link into the the chat. So this is that, and then yeah, FX88. Here, I'll paste somebody a link for that too. Amazon. I think eBay is a pretty solid place to get those, but here's an Amazon link for those two. Here we go. I want to watch. That sounds weird. I like to watch. There's the link to the soldering iron. Yes, we want to see the LEDs. Yes, yes. Okay, cool. So cool. All right, so LEDs, the first things first is you have to remove the old LEDs, right? And the easiest way to do that is to use a method just called floating them off. So basically you just use kind of like an extra lot of solder to reheat the existing solder that's there, and then float them off that way. So the way that I like to do it is I hold my iron kind of at a broad-sided angle against the LED, and then I insert my solder so that I start creating a larger and larger ball. And then as you kind of rotate it back and forth, it will just wipe off just like that. So there's the LED. And then same story, it just repeats over and over. And that's why I use this empty tape roll, because then I can just easily rotate the ring of light board here. So there's the next one. There's the next one. Be careful not to wipe off any of the other little LEDs that are on it. Rainbow in the middle. Can you resend it? Please, I pressed the wrong button. Resend what? You are very good with soldering. Thanks. I have Japan. Oh God, Godzilla's in here. Oh, Japan soldering iron. Okay, that's better. I press the iron against the LED, then insert the solder. Against the LED. Man. All right, so same sort of story here. Iron broadside against the LED, and then inserting the solder to kind of create the ball, and it just kind of floats off. It's pretty easy. It's precise, so you got to be careful, but it's not too hard. And then we do a final rotate. Get that one, the last one here. All right, and then the center one, you kind of have to hop back and forth against the top and the bottom. I just said that. Yeah, press the iron against the LED and then insert the solder. Well, that's kind of what it feels like. You're inserting it, you're pushing it against the iron. Because basically as you push it against the iron, it liquefies, right? So here I create two big kind of pools of solder, one on the top, right? So you can see that big ball of solder forming, and then one on the bottom. And then you basically bounce back and forth between them, and then it just gets hot enough that the big LED comes right off of there, and then you can just use your iron only and take off all that excess solder. You just kind of wick it around, and there you go, you're left with the pads. So we have to replace that one dual LED with actually two separate LEDs, one for the normal power light and one for the error code. So let me look real fast and see what LEDs that I have to do for this one, because I don't recall. Pink LEDs is what this person wanted. So we're going to go grab my thing of pink LEDs. Where is that at? White, blue, red, pink. Here we go. So I've got LEDs come in reels like this with little plastic coating over the little trays that contain them all. If you want to buy these your own, you go 0603 SMD LEDs. That's what these are. 0603 is the size. SMD is surface mount. And then obviously they're LEDs, right? So you need 10 of them. What I like to do is just use a little piece of cardboard that I keep over here for this purpose and put them on that for visibility against my desk. So we go, just pull it, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's our little LEDs. Now, LEDs actually do have polarity. Polarity means one side is positive and one side is negative. Do I have an Amazon account, and what do I sell on Amazon? So I use Amazon as my credit card payment processor, meaning if you buy something on my website, you get routed through Amazon to pay me, and they act like a regular credit card processor. But I don't sell anything directly on Amazon. If you buy one from me, will it come with a flash DVD drive? By default, I don't bother flashing the DVD drives. If you want one with a flash DVD drive, we could certainly do that. I'm absolutely able to flash DVD drives. But in my opinion, once you've got JTAG or RGH, I don't really know what the point of a flash drive is. Why would you want to play a burned disk when you can simply just play off of your hard drive from a file that you transfer there via, neighborhood or something? Like having the ability to play a burned disk seems a little pointless, right? Can you try Project Liberation stealth servers? I don't know if that's one of the top few that I will be trying. I'm not going to make any promises. If that video series of stealth service reviews works out to be popular or something, then maybe I'll get to the point where I'm trying all of them. But to begin with, I'm going to try whichever ones were suggested the most times in that video. Probably the top 2, maybe 3. So basically I know for sure I'll do Ninja, and then whatever the next most recommended one was, I'll do that too. Ninja for the win! Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any sort of affiliation at all. I'm not getting any kickback or anything. But it seems like, and I don't know the history at all, there's people that know some of the ins and outs about who worked on which server and then who stole what code and cloned it to where and all that sort of stuff. But there seems like if you dig into it, there's a history of a few guys who either have worked together or know each other at the very least that kind of are the ones that know how to do stealth servers, and that same code seems to be repopulated everywhere. I don't think there are literally 27 different instances of people who have implemented their own stealth service. I think there's 1 or 2 people who have implemented it and 25 other copies, right? People that have, for lack of a better way of saying it, ripped off the original. And I'm not claiming to know who the original is. That might be Ninja, it might be somebody else. But it just doesn't make sense that there would be that many implementations of the same thing. Like, I don't think, I would be really surprised if there's actually that many different people that have arrived at the method of how to do a stealth server. It makes way more sense to me that there's 1 or 2 ways of doing a stealth server, and then once people get those nailed down, they just resell that code or recopy it or whatever. You guys want to see something kind of cool? I'm going to show you my, they're saying you need an RGH. Buy a console, send it in. So check this out. There's my current inventory hanging out. So those are consoles that will be sold as pre-modded as I get them finished. They're not actually RGH yet. They're just retails at the moment. You got scammed twice. That was a sad day. Well, so here's the thing. If you are paying via some method that you have no recourse, I feel like it's a little bit your own fault. Like, how did you get scammed? If you paid with PayPal, wouldn't you just file a dispute and get your money back? If you buy from me, you buy through Amazon. You can either open an A to Z guarantee with Amazon, or you can do a credit card dispute, right? So how would you get scammed out of this money unless you were like sending gift card codes or whatever? What happens is they make the stealth, and they get hacked, and their source gets leaked, and someone uses that, and it goes on and on. That makes sense to me. That seems reasonable. I'm not saying it's for sure the truth, but it seems realistic. What happens is they use the same source, someone makes it better, and then it goes on. Sure. 230 watt soldering iron. Yeah, that seems like way overkill. Yeah, Monoxide. I remember him back from my TTGJs. I ran a trusted seller page on the tech game, TTG, and he was a seller in that time. Wasn't Monoxide UK, though? Or is he US seller? I forget. I remember the name Monoxide, but I remember him and Rodent. I saw his stuff the other day, Rodent Mods. I think he goes by Rodentized now on his YouTube channel. That'd be pretty cool. See those guys again. Gonna buy one next month. Cool. Oh, he is UK. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. He was a UK seller. So now we got the LEDs all on here, and as long as I got everything right, when I power it up, we should have pink LEDs now. Oh man, I totally must have got the polarity wrong. Boom, boom, boom. I got the polarity wrong on both the center LEDs, but got it right on all of the rings. Oh well. I will fix that. So you saw that. That was a nice fast boot there too. So let's see. What did we do? I wonder if it's actually just not even, if the solder's not touching. Instead of it being in the wrong position, it looks like the solder balls are maybe... Let me retry it without flipping them. I want to see if perhaps it was just a poor connection. So we'll point it this way and boot it again. Oh, we got to reconnect the power. What size LEDs do you use for the center? Same as the rest. Yeah, 0603. You just use 2 of them. Yeah, there we go. It was just a bad connection. All fixed. Is there a disc in there? It sure is. Army of 2. Look at that. Alright. Well, there's another game. Oh, dang. What soldering iron should you use, or what wattage? So if you have to buy like a local wattage whatever, I would do like a 40 watt iron. I think would be about the right temperature, or get a variable temperature one. I think my very first variable temperature soldering iron I got from Amazon for 20 bucks. It was super cheap, and that's what you really want. You want to be able to turn it up or turn it down just depending on your needs. So it looks like we didn't successfully boot that time. The LED in there is on, so I'm going to turn this thing off. Let me power cycle it again. There we go. Let's see. We look in there, we should see that green light up. There it goes. Boom. Successful boot. Here we go. Oh, this one's behaving a little weird. Oh! You know what? It's because I don't have the video plugged in. When you don't have AV plugged in, the system recognizes it with no HDMI, and then it refuses to boot all the way. So that was the reason. I didn't have the HDMI plugged in. So there you go. You've seen me do LEDs. You've seen me do the full install. You see me read and write the NAND. You see me load the software. This thing is, other than the little bit of cleaning and the little bit of recasing and stuff, this thing is ready to go. It's booted into Freestyle Dash. It is RGH. It is hot and bothered and done and working and fancy and whatever else you want to call it. So, hour and 23 minutes. I think that's about all I got in me. As I recase this thing, I think maybe I'll switch this thing to... Oh, nobody wants to see that. Let's see. Maybe I can just angle this video way up. You can look at my keyboard while I recase this thing. So let's throw a Q&A at me. Oh crap! Sorry. Let me just unwind this power cable. Hopefully my battery holds out for the video and this thing stops shaking. But throw some questions at me while I'm recasing this thing, and as soon as I'm done, I'm going to call the video over. So if you got any more Q&A, throw it out real quick, and I'll do my best to answer. Good job, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Good job to you. I think you've been hanging out here this whole stream, so I appreciate that. Thanks to you guys for watching. It makes it feel pretty cool to like have an audience and be able to talk back and forth. Yeah, I like this keyboard. It's a gaming series by Logitech. It's not super fancy or anything, but it's not super clicky. And because when I game on the PC a little bit, the wife hates it if I'm super clicky. How many times have I had sex? Oh, I have 3 children, so I can prove that I've had sex at least 3 times. How's that? I have biological children that I'm quite certain are mine. Yeah, it's a Logitech G510S. Somebody just answered what soldering iron I used in the chat like 2 seconds ago. So, it's a Hacko 88D, I want to say. Somebody else ask what soldering iron I use. Ask a few more times. It'll be fun. Here's my. This is a recent acquisition. I totally wish I would have. I need to point this down a little bit. There we go. I wish I would have had this years ago. I've done so many consoles that I seriously think I might have given myself carpal tunnel syndrome. I think my camera died. Oh, there it goes. Now it's starting to work. But now I have this little tiny electronic screwdriver. So handy, man. Oh my lord. If you are a frequent console maker, whatever, by all means, spend the $20 on one of these things. Holy crap, it will make your life better. Which is better, a Slim or an E Super Slim? So the issue with the E Series consoles, is that they are available in 2 motherboard models, the Winchester model as well as the Corona model. If your console has a manufacture date roughly of about 6 of 2014 and before, you're pretty much assured that that E-Series is a Corona and it can be modded. If your E-Series console has a manufacture date of 7/2014 and later, it's really kind of a gamble about whether or not you are going to have a Winchester motherboard. And if you have a Winchester motherboard, those consoles are not moddable. So that's really the issue with those E-Series. So that's why I stick to the S-Series Slims, the slightly older Slims, because 100% all of those can be modded. Is there any point to doing installs? I still do them. The expense to get into it's really not that bad. For a nice soldering station, some solder, the tools that you would need and stuff. I mean, $150, you could get all of the stuff you need to do it quite well. Is it worth investing all of the time to learn how to mod and get the best boot times out of every single console? That would be a personal question, right? Because I have spent so many hours upon hours on stinking Team Executor forums and teamex360.co.uk and all of the other sites out there, learning the ins and outs of this stuff for so long that to do it over again, I would never have the time. Like, I mean, it just would not make sense to invest that amount of time. How am I doing? I'm doing pretty good. I feel nice. Thanks, man. Slim 360. Is there any part on Corona V6? A Corona V6, yeah, you're right. You would need a post-fix adapter. Post-fix adapters and Coronas that need them are not my favorite. I would rather do Trinities and stuff. So, but it's not bad. I mean, they're easy enough to install. It's not a big deal. The worst is when you get, because I do the flat rate RGH thing. So when somebody sends in an E-Series and it is a Corona, and oftentimes it'll be a 4 gig. The console ends up needing like every adapter possible, basically. So you end up having to install a post-fix adapter, the 4 gigabyte NAND read writer, and the glitch chip. So it just ends up being significantly more work than like a fat install or whatever. Which is why, like I said, I just kind of prefer the Trinity consoles and whatever. So here, we'll do, let's see if we can capture this for you guys. So this is one of the last steps. eBay keeps taking down your RGH listings. No, don't sell eBay. Get active over on the 7sins forum. It's probably the most reliable place that I know about. So 7sins has a seller forum, and they also have a pretty active support community. So go join their RGH support forum, get 50 or 100 helpful posts, and then see if you can get a posting, for your sales in their for sale section. I want to say that if you hang around there long enough, that you can actually even get pinned as like a trusted seller. So you could do that. Do you get the timing files when we order an Ace V3? I don't give you the downloads for that because the downloads are on the teamx360.co.uk site. Those are 15432's files, and that's where he wants the repository of them. So that's where I'm going to leave them. Let's just, what should I point this at? Webcam. I don't know. You don't want to look at me though. I don't know what to angle this thing at. The JRunner install. There you go. You can just look at that. One time I sold on eBay, the guy sold a brick the RGH just so you could get a return. Yeah, see, that's the thing. eBay is not RGH friendly. PayPal is not RGH friendly. That's why I use Amazon as my payment processor, because if somebody tries to pull a fast one, I can prove to Amazon that I shipped it. That's why I do a proof video on every single console. All that sort of stuff. So you had a console like that. It's kind of annoying. What is Trinity? What processor is fast? Laptop i7 or computer i7? Well, pretty much all times desktop parts are faster because they're not limited by thermal issues like laptop parts are, or power issues like laptop parts are. So 99 times out of 100, the faster part is going to be the desktop part for sure. You may even find that a laptop i7 isn't really even competing with a desktop i5, Yeah, exactly. I get that too, man. People buy consoles and don't know how to use them, and they get mad about it. The most common reason I get people wanting to not always do returns, but sometimes they want to do a revert to stock because they didn't realize, once I RGH the console, I can't get on Xbox Live normally. Well, yeah, it says that very clearly all over my website, many, many locations. So since you can't, you don't have it figured out, it's my fault because you don't know how to use this. I mean, that's, I back up my sales with a 15-day warranty to make sure that they don't like red ring on people or whatever. I had one recently that came back all weird, and I paid for return shipping back to me. So I do a valid warranty service. You get a valid issue, I'll talk to you about it. I'll email you 100 times back and forth, and we'll figure it out. But if you're just trying to pull a fast one on me because you don't like the fact that you don't know how to use what you bought, that's tough noogies, man. That's on you. So anyway, this was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with me. I'm going to try to do more of these in the future, but I need to bail and go hang out with my kids and wife and all that. And thanks for watching. Hope you